Amy Mickelson's wedding ring is missing, and neither she nor her husband has said a single word about it. 6 months into golf's most unsettled scandal, that silence is the story. On July 21st, 2026, she was photographed entering and exiting a San Diego Trader Joe's with the couple's daughter, Amanda Bryn. Both times her left hand was bare. It was her first photographed public appearance since allegations against Phil Mickelson had surfaced weeks earlier, and it took one grocery run to turn a private errand into national news. For a couple married since November 16, 1996, that is not a small thing to notice. It is also not proof of anything. But context has a way of turning small things into large ones, and the context here is not small. The sequence matters. 6 months earlier, on February 1st, Phil Mickelson announced that he and Amy were stepping back from public life for what he called an undisclosed family health matter. He skipped LIV Golf's season opener in Saudi Arabia. He sat out the tour's next several events. In mid-March, he made a single competitive appearance in Johannesburg, finished tied for 48th, and disappeared again. In April, he withdrew from the Masters. His statement described an extended period of time, not a short break. By July, he had withdrawn from all 4 majors in a single season, the first time that had happened to him in his career. Month after month, that explanation held. A health matter, private, undisclosed, respected by most outlets covering it. Then, in June, a second storyline entered the frame. One Golf Digest was careful to describe as sharing a calendar with the health story, not a cause. Reporters Joel Beal and Todd Leonard reported that Mickelson was no longer a member at the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, where he had played for decades. According to their sourcing, a female club employee said he made unwanted physical contact with her before a round that spring. She reported it. Club officials investigated, found him mid-round, and asked him to leave. The club's public statement never named him, but it confirmed a member's departure following a misconduct investigation. A defamation attorney entered the picture soon after. His spokesperson called it a misunderstanding that had already been cleared up, and reiterated that the health situation at home was still unresolved. There was no video evidence, the club confirmed no camera covered that area, and the attorney did not specify which parts of the account he was disputing. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office investigated separately and closed its file without finding evidence of assault, while noting it would reopen if new evidence appeared. Then the story widened again. Writer Alan Shipnuck, who had profiled Mickelson years earlier, published an investigation built on numerous sources. Its central account came from Ashley Perez, who described an evening at Mickelson's villa a decade earlier. An explicit photo shown to her, an invitation extended while her husband slept down the hall. She said she stayed silent for years before deciding the silence itself was the problem. The report also referenced a recorded apology call, other club departures, and claims about how closely the family tracked his movements. His representatives answered point by point. He had never been expelled from any club, they said. Every departure had been his own decision. They called the idea that Amy orchestrated anything false, and objected to her being drawn into the story at all, since she had never sought public attention. They characterized the location tracking detail as an ordinary family safety feature, not evidence of anything unusual. And that is the tension sitting underneath the Trader Joe's photograph. His team spent weeks insisting Amy Mickelson did not belong in any of this. Then a routine grocery run put her back in it anyway, not because anyone quoted her, but because a camera caught what her hand wasn't wearing. It's worth being precise about what that photograph actually shows, because precision is exactly what's missing from most of the conversation around it. It shows a woman entering and exiting a supermarket. No filed petition, no statement, no confirmed separation. People take rings off for a dozen ordinary reasons: jewelry repair, swelling, simple preference, and even the outlets that ran the photos acknowledged that no conclusion follows from an image alone. What is confirmed, and this is the part that gets lost, is a single substantive statement from the family. A spokeswoman described their recovery as something that isn't a straight line. She pointed to 35 years together, to Amy's role supporting him through past difficulties, and to a belief that people are measured by what they do after they fail, not only by the failure itself. That is not the language of a couple confirming a split. It is also not the language of a couple pretending nothing happened. Their last clearly documented public moment together as a couple was the 2021 Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits, where she wore a visible ring and he was not in attendance beside her. Since then, her public appearances have been rare enough that a single supermarket trip became national sports news. Zoom out, and the ring is really a stand-in for a bigger unanswered question. How much of the Mickelson marriage is intact, and how much of it is simply undiscussed? Neither Phil nor Amy has addressed the photographs directly. No filing has surfaced. No representative has confirmed or denied a separation. The silence itself has become part of the coverage, in the same way the silence around the health matter became part of it back in February. There is a pattern worth naming here, and it isn't about guilt or innocence, it's about information control. For 6 months, nearly everything the public has learned has arrived sideways, through club statements that don't name anyone, through attorneys who dispute characterizations without specifying which ones, through a recorded phone call obtained by a journalist rather than released by either party, and now through a paparazzi photo of an empty ring finger. The Mickelsons have said remarkably little on the record. The public has filled that vacuum with inference, and inference is exactly what a bare hand outside a grocery store invites. None of this exists in a vacuum either. His LEV golf team, the High Flyers, currently sits 11th in a 13-team standings table, in a league whose primary Saudi funding is scheduled to end this year. His 5-year exemption at the US Open lapsed without renewal. Analysts who once treated a PGA Tour return as inevitable now call it, at best, expensive and unlikely. Fellow golfer Billy Horschel put it more bluntly, saying he doesn't see a road back for Mickelson at all, a sentiment other players have reportedly echoed privately, even if they won't put their names to it. The career questions and the marriage questions are separate threads, but they are fraying at the same time, and that is part of why one photograph at a supermarket carried the weight of a headline. For most of his career, that approachability was the asset. Where Tiger Woods kept fans at a calculated distance, Mickelson built his entire persona around closeness, signing autographs for an hour after a round, chatting with galleries, positioning himself as the player people could actually reach. That same openness is exactly why a single photograph now carries so much weight. When a public figure spends decades inviting people into the details of his life, the public doesn't stop watching once the story turns uncomfortable. They keep watching the same way they always did. They just started reading the pictures differently. That's not a criticism of anyone paying attention to it. A missing ring genuinely is a data point, it's just an incomplete one sitting inside a year that has produced a lot of incomplete data points. A listing pulled from a golf field within a day, a display quietly removed from a clubhouse, an exemption that lapsed rather than renewed, a legal team that was offered the chance to produce evidence and didn't. What stays true either way is this. A 56-year-old golfer with a career built partly on being the most approachable man in the sport is now watching his personal life get read the way his golf swing used to be, frame by frame, in slow motion, by people trying to decide what it means. Whether the ring comes back is not something anyone outside that marriage can answer. Whether the rest of his career comes back is, at this point, an open question too. Only one line has from his camp with any real clarity through all of it. He doesn't know when he's coming back. As of now, neither Mickelson has said anything about the ring at all.